Vacate the room, my father said, his tone flat, final, not a whisper, not a request. That same evening, my brother arrived with 2 suitcases and a pregnant wife I'd met only once. Tiffany stood behind Marcus, surveying my bedroom, the room I'd painted myself, the shelves I'd mounted with my own drill, every inch purchased with my own earnings, and declared, "It would be better if you left the house completely." My father nodded. My mother stared at the floor. No one spoke again. I left. I packed my entire life into 3 cardboard boxes and walked out of a house that bore only my name on the deed. What my family didn't realize, what they would discover just days later, prompted Tiffany to call me at 11 p.m., her voice trembling. "It's not true. Tell me it's not true." Before I continue, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if the story truly resonates with you. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? My name is Sabrina Brennan. I'm 29, a licensed civil engineer in Massachusetts. Let me take you back to the day I signed for a house I believed would hold my family together. I still remember the pen, a cheap blue ballpoint, the kind you borrow from a receptionist's cup. With it, I signed the costliest document of my life. March 14th, 4 years ago, in a title company office on State Street in Springfield. The notary stamped the deed of trust, pushed it toward me, and said, "Congratulations, Miss Brennan, it's all yours." All mine. Only my name, Sabrina Brennan, appeared on that deed. No co-signer, no co-owner, just me, a 25-year-old with a new PE license, a starting salary of $72,000, and an FHA loan for $234,000. Monthly payment, $2,340, due the first of every month for the next 30 years. The house exceeded my needs. 2 stories, a half-finished basement, 3 bedrooms, a backyard shaded by a maple that blanketed the driveway in leaves each October. I didn't require 3 bedrooms. 1 would have sufficed. But I chose a 3-bedroom home because my father, Gerald Brennan, 58, retired plumber, bad back, manned $1,480 monthly disability check, had just sold the mobile home he and my mother had occupied for 11 years. They had nowhere else. So I made space. The arrangement was straightforward. They would move in, help with utilities, and we'd live as family under one roof. Verbal agreement only, no lease, no contract, just trust. They moved in the following week. My mother brought her collection of ceramic roosters. My father brought his recliner and his judgments. Neither ever paid a utility bill. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst was spending 4 years convinced that if I kept paying, kept maintaining, kept proving myself, they would eventually recognize my worth. They never did. Let me explain the hierarchy in the Brennan household. It clarifies everything that followed. Marcus Brennan, my older brother, 33, handsome enough for a second date but never a second promotion. He sold used cars at Riverside Motors and described it as though he were brokering Wall Street deals. My father worshipped him. Gerald Brennan held one unshakable conviction: sons carry the name, daughters carry the groceries. Marcus represented the future. I was the foundation. When Marcus finally graduated community college, after 3 attempts and a D- in statistics, my father threw a backyard barbecue. 16 guests, burgers, beer, a banner reading "Proud of you" in bold letters for son. When I graduated with honors from UMass Amherst Civil Engineering Program, Dean's List 7 of 8 semesters, my father sent a text, "Good for you, kid." No period, no exclamation, no barbecue. When I passed the PE exam, a credential fewer than 25% of engineering graduates earn, my mother remarked, "That's nice, honey. Your brother just got promoted to senior sales." Senior sales at a used car lot, while carrying $38,000 in credit card debt. Gerald either didn't know about the debt or didn't care. What I know is that he quietly lent Marcus money from his disability check, $5,000 here, $3,000 there, then turned to me. "Can you help with the bills this month, sweetheart? The prescriptions are killing us." I always said yes. That's what foundations do. They support everything silently until they're removed. Then, one Friday evening, Marcus called with news that shifted everything. Before I describe that call, understand the numbers, because numbers never lie, and in my family, they were the only honest thing. Over 48 months, I made 48 mortgage payments of $2,340, $112,320 in principal and interest alone. Beyond that, I covered the electric bill, averaging $380 a month in Massachusetts winters, water and sewer at $90, internet and cable, my father demanded the sports package, adding another $200. Groceries, which I supplemented at roughly $150 monthly because my parents ate every meal at home and never shopped. Conservatively, $147,360 from my paycheck flowed into a house where I occupied one bedroom and expected nothing. I painted the exterior twice myself, 2 full weekends each time, balanced on a 20-foot extension ladder. I replaced the leaking roof section over the back porch, $4,200 out of pocket. I installed a basement heating unit because my father said the downstairs felt drafty, $3,100. My neighbor, Louise Beckett, 67, who'd lived next door for 11 years, witnessed it all. Every ladder climb, every mulch bag, every 6 a.m. Saturday snow shoveling while my parents slept. Once she leaned over the fence. "Honey, where's your family when you're up on that ladder?" I smiled. "They're inside. That's kind of the point, so they can stay comfortable." Louise gave me a look I didn't grasp then. I do now. It was pity. Then Marcus phoned. "Sabrina, I'm coming home, and I'm not coming alone." His voice carried that familiar brightness it acquired only when he wanted something. I'd heard it when he needed a co-signer, when he asked to borrow my car for a weekend that stretched to 2 weeks, when he wanted me to press Dad for more money. This time, he was bringing Tiffany, his wife of 8 months, 7 months pregnant. They arrived Friday evening, 2 large suitcases, 3 boxes of baby supplies, and Tiffany, who stepped from Marcus's car and appraised the house like an auction item. 30 years old, part-time receptionist at a dental office, she had a talent for making every sentence feel like a favor. My father was prepared. I saw it within 30 seconds. The living room furniture already shifted, a corner already cleared. Gerald had known they were coming. He'd made space. He hadn't told me. But Tiffany scanned the living room and shook her head. "This won't do. We need a real bedroom." Bare concrete walls, a lone overhead bulb dangling from a pull chain, a mattress hauled down from the guest closet and laid straight on the cold floor, no bed frame in sight. The air carried the faint reek of mildew and aged cardboard. In the corner, a sluggish drip from a joint in the cold water pipe counted out a steady rhythm that kept me awake that first night. Upstairs, Tiffany settled in as if she'd always belonged. The next afternoon, she posted a photo of my former bedroom, now transformed into a nursery with a crib and soft pastel bunting, on her Instagram. Family always makes room for the next generation, followed by a pink heart emoji. 212 likes, comments brimming with congratulations and praise for the beautiful space. No one asked whose space it had been barely 24 hours before. Marcus brushed past me on the stairs the following morning. "It's just temporary, Sabrina. Don't make this weird." I slept in that basement for 3 nights. On the third, a pipe joint loosens just enough, not a full rupture, but a persistent seep. I woke at 3 a.m. with my back drenched, water soaking through the mattress. I lay motionless in the darkness as the damp crept across the fabric, staring up at the ceiling that was their floor, thinking, I pay $2,340 a month to sleep in a puddle under my own house. The next morning, I climbed the stairs to make coffee. Tiffany sat at the kitchen table using the espresso machine I had bought. She glanced up. "Oh, you're still here?" That was the first time I truly understood that love and ownership are not the same thing. It happened on a Tuesday. I was in my car in the work parking lot eating a granola bar when my phone buzzed with a credit monitoring alert I'd set up 3 years earlier, not from paranoia, but because my engineer's mind likes monitoring data. The message read, "New lien detected on property at 147 Maplewood Drive, Springfield, Massachusetts." I read it twice, then a third time. I set the granola bar aside and opened the full report. A $95,000 mortgage lien filed through Greenfield Credit Union, the small community bank on Carew Street where my father kept his checking account. The borrower's signature on the deed of trust addendum, Sabrina Brennan. Except I had never signed it. I had never set foot in Greenfield Credit Union. I had never authorized any lien on my property. I pulled up the signature image in the PDF. It looked similar, close enough to pass a quick glance, but I know my own handwriting the way a violinist knows her instrument. My capital B in Brennan loops tightly at the top. This one swooped wide, the way someone copies from a photocopy. My middle initial, E for Elizabeth, was printed. I always write it in cursive. Someone had traced my signature from the used car lease I'd signed 2 years earlier, the one my father had helpfully photocopied for his records. I called the credit union. A manager confirmed the loan had been processed 3 months earlier by a representative described as a family member of the property owner. The witness on the application? Donna Brennan, my mother. $95,000. My name, my house, without my knowledge, without my consent. I sat gripping the steering wheel, shaking, not from fear, from rage. If that lien posted to my credit report within the next 30 days, my 761 score, built through nearly a decade of discipline, would crater, and with it, everything I'd earned. The clock was running. There's a Dunkin' on Boston Road open 24 hours. I stayed until 1 a.m. with a medium black coffee and a flattened paper napkin. I drew a line down the middle. Left column, what I lose if I fight. Right column, what I lose if I don't. The left was short but weighty. My relationship with my parents, whatever scraps remained, the risk of being cut off by the extended family, Aunt Patrice's Christmas cards, Uncle Ray's Thanksgiving handshake. Tiffany was 7 months pregnant. Any action I took would be spun as an assault on an expectant mother. I could already hear the story Gerald would tell. The right column stretched longer. $95,000 in fraudulent debt tied to my name, a credit score in free fall, the loss of my ability to refinance, to borrow, to live financially independent as an adult, and the ironclad certainty that if I did nothing, they would do it again. People who steal from you once without consequence don't stop. They only grow bolder. I studied both sides. Then I crumpled the napkin and tossed it. The decision had crystallized the instant I saw that forged signature. The napkin had merely confirmed it. The next morning, I called Rita Calloway, a real estate attorney in Springfield, with 17 years specializing in property disputes. A colleague's mother knew her. I told Rita everything. She listened without interruption for 6 full minutes. Then she said, "Sabrina, what your father did is forgery. What your mother did is aiding and abetting. What Marcus did is fraud. Do not say one word to anyone in your family until we have every document in hand." For the first time in 4 years, I wasn't paying bills to hold a family together. I was paying a lawyer to hold myself together. Rita moved quickly. Within 48 hours, she had filed a formal request under my rights as sole property owner for every record tied to the lien. Greenfield Credit Union complied, reluctantly, but they complied. The packet reached Rita's office on Thursday afternoon. I drove straight from work. We spread the documents across her conference table like pieces of a crime scene, because that's exactly what it was. The forged deed of trust addendum, my traced signature at the bottom of page 4, my mother's name as witness on page 5 in her unmistakable handwriting, Donna Brennan in the same green ink pen she'd used for 20 years. Then the transaction records. Rita had highlighted them in yellow. $38,000 wired directly to a credit card account in Marcus Brennan's name, his entire balance erased in one transfer. $22,000 to Riverside Motors, a down payment on a vehicle. $15,000 withdrawn in cash by Donna Brennan over 3 separate visits. $20,000 left untouched in Gerald Brennan's personal savings account, a private cushion built on my name. $95,000 distributed like holiday bonuses while I slept on a soaked mattress in the basement. Rita looked at me over her reading glasses. They thought they were clever. Clever people don't forge documents on property they don't own with a credit union that keeps digital records of everything. She added something I hadn't considered. The loan officer, Derek Gaines, skipped standard identity verification. No in-person check, no video call, just Gerald's word and a photocopied signature. "We have more than enough," she said. "Now, when do you want to move?" Day 12. That's how long it took from discovering the forged lien to walking out of 147 Maplewood Drive with 3 cardboard boxes, a duffel bag, and a plan. The first hints of orange began threading through the green leaves. I didn't glance back. Gerald discovered the envelope around 7 p.m. My mother told me later what unfolded. He opened it, scanned the highlighted deed copy, read the note, then ripped the paper in two. "She's bluffing," he said. He had no idea the deed copy was exactly that, a copy. The original, along with every certified document Rita had gathered, sat secure in my bank's safe deposit box. He shredded a photocopy and believed he'd prevailed. I allowed him that illusion. He had 18 days remaining. In the first week after I left, the Brennan family moved into my house as though they'd inherited it outright. Tiffany shared an Instagram story from the living room. "Finally, a house that feels like home." 187 views. She'd rearranged the furniture, draped a wreath over the front door, and laid a welcome mat across the threshold I'd paid for. Marcus mowed the lawn, for what I'm certain was the first time in his life, and posted a selfie. Dad duty starts early. Gerald shaped the story the way he shaped everything, decisively and without facts. He phoned Uncle Ray. He phoned Aunt Patrice. He phoned his own mother, Helen. From what I later reconstructed through various accounts, his account ran like this. Sabrina moved out. She wanted her own space. Very independent girl. No reference to the basement, no mention of the eviction from my bedroom, no hint of the forged mortgage, just a proud father whose capable daughter had chosen to fly. My mother called once that week, not to check on me, not to say she missed me. She called to ask, "Did you pay the electric bill before you left? Gerald says the lights flickered." I let the question hang in silence for 3 long seconds before replying. Meanwhile, Rita and I moved methodically down our checklist. Fraud complaint filed with Greenfield Credit Union, formal disputes lodged with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, each backed by comprehensive documentation, and the final step, the 30-day notice to quit, drafted and ready, addressed to Gerald Brennan, Donna Brennan, Marcus Brennan, and Tiffany Brennan. Under Massachusetts law, occupants without a lease receive 30 days written notice before eviction proceedings may commence. Rita arranged the process server for day 17, the same day Gerald had scheduled his open house for 45 guests. Perfect timing. Trouble began with the heating system. On day 5 after I left, the main thermostat malfunctioned, a glitch I'd fixed countless times by resetting the breaker and recalibrating the sensor. 90 seconds if you knew the trick. Gerald did not. He called an HVAC company. They quoted $2,800 for diagnostics and possible parts. Gerald lacked $2,800. Day 7, the electric bill arrived, $340 for the month, typical for a Massachusetts winter with 4 adults running heat nonstop. The account remains in my name. The transfer request I'd filed hadn't yet cleared. Gerald called me. "When are you coming back? The house needs you." Not, "We miss you," not, "Are you all right?" "The house needs you?" As though I were another pipe or fixture. I'm not coming back, Dad. Contact the utility company directly. The account is in my name and I've already submitted a transfer request. What do you mean, transfer request? I mean the bills will be in your name or whoever's starting next month. 10 seconds of silence. Then he hung up. That evening, Tiffany texted me. I still have the message verbatim. This is really selfish timing. I'm due in 8 weeks. Selfish. Remarkable how neatly that word aligns with inconvenience when it comes to me. I had poured $147,000 into that household over 4 years. I heated the basements at my expense so the house stayed comfortable. I replaced the roof so rain never reached them. The moment I stopped, the very first moment I was no longer useful, I became selfish. I didn't reply. Some words don't merit a response. My mother called at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, crying, the measured, rehearsed kind that ebbs and flows at strategic pauses. It sounded like sorrow, but functioned like leverage. Your father is stressed. His back is worse. You know he can't manage the house alone. Mom, I managed that house alone for 4 years. Dad was there the entire time. That's different. You're young. You're strong. I'm also the person whose signature was forged on a $95,000 mortgage. Did you want to discuss that? The crying ceased abruptly, not faded, but cut off like a switched recording. Long silence. Then softly, your father said it was for the family. It was for Marcus's credit card debt. I have the bank records, Mom. $38,000 to his card, $22,000 for a car. You withdrew $15,000 in cash over 3 separate visits. Would you like the dates? You're going to tear this family apart. The family was torn apart the night you set 3 cardboard boxes outside my bedroom door. She hung up. That night, alone in my studio, I studied the comparison sheet Rita had prepared, my genuine signature on the left, the forgery on the right. I asked myself if I was being too harsh, if there existed some path where everyone emerged intact, if the right thing and the kind thing could ever align. Then I looked again at the forgery. My mother's handwriting on the witness line in that same green ink she'd used for grocery lists, birthday cards, and the note she once slipped into my 4th grade lunchbox. Have a great day, sweetie. No, I wasn't too harsh. I was finally clear. Have you ever had someone you love turn your loyalty into a weapon against you? If so, I'd like to hear your story. Share it in the comments. You might help someone else see they're not alone. Marcus appeared at my apartment unannounced on a Thursday evening. No call, no warning, just 3 sharp knocks on a door he shouldn't have known how to find. I suspect my mother provided the address. I checked the Ring doorbell feed Rita had urged me to install the week before. Marcus stood on the walkway, jaw clenched, fists flexing open and closed. I opened the door. What the hell are you doing, Sabrina? Gerald says you're threatening to kick us out. I'm not threatening anything. I'm exercising my legal rights as the property owner. Property owner? He gave a short, bitter laugh. You think a piece of paper makes you better than family? That piece of paper is a deed of trust, and another piece of paper, the one you and Dad forged, is a federal crime. The laugh vanished. His face shifted, not to regret, but to negotiation. I'd seen Marcus sell cars for years. I recognized the moment the pitch changed. Look, he said, voice softening, we can work this out. Tiffany's due in 8 weeks. You can't do this to her. I'm not doing anything to Tiffany. I'm undoing what was done to me. If you go through with this, you'll never see your niece or nephew. The words struck, but they didn't lodge the way he'd hoped. He was wielding an unborn child as leverage, the same way Gerald had wielded family to justify theft. That's your choice, Marcus, not mine. He stormed off, slamming the door hard enough to shake the frame. The Ring camera recorded it all. His face, his words, his threat, the timestamp. 7:48 p.m. Rita would receive the footage by morning. Some people build walls with bricks. I was building mine with evidence. Your grandmother is crying. I hope you're happy. Aunt Patrice's words came through the phone like a slap, sharp and rehearsed. I tried explaining the forged mortgage, the $95,000, the bank records, the signature that wasn't mine. She cut me off. I don't believe that, she said. Gerald would never. That phrase, Gerald would never, was the cornerstone of my father's entire defense. He had spent 58 years constructing the image of the reliable patriarch, the man who arrived at barbecues with a case of beer and a solid handshake, who called his mother every Sunday without fail. Decades invested in that persona. Now he was spending it all to bury me. And it was working. In the family courtroom of opinion, I stood convicted without a hearing. I called Rita and told her everything. She listened quietly, then said something that settled over me like an anchor dropping. Don't fight the narrative. Let the documents speak, and they will at the right moment. She glanced at the calendar on her desk. The open house, when they're all there, 45 people, perfect audience. I swallowed. That's in 5 days. Then we have 5 days to prepare. On day 14, a letter arrived at Rita's office on Greenfield Credit Union letterhead. She called me at work. You're going to want to come in. I drove over during lunch. The letter already lay on her desk, angled toward me. The crucial paragraph, third one down, I can still recite it word for word. Following an internal compliance review, the signature on the deed of trust addendum dated redacted does not match the authenticated signature on file for the property owner, Sabrina E. Brennan. The associated loan has been suspended pending further investigation. Suspended. Not canceled, not yet resolved, but suspended. The lien would not report to the credit bureaus. My 761 score remained intact, at least for now. Rita continued. The loan officer who processed the application, Derek Gaines, has been placed on administrative leave effective immediately. The bank's compliance team identified multiple procedural violations. Most seriously, the complete lack of in-person identity verification. Gaines had admitted in an internal interview that Gerald Brennan was a regular customer who'd bought him beers a couple of times and assured him the property owner was out of town, but fully aware of and in agreement with the transaction. Beers. My father had traded beers for my financial identity. The lien will be removed from your property record within 30 days, Rita said. More importantly, the bank now has a strong institutional incentive to cooperate. They originated a fraudulent loan due to employee negligence. They don't want a lawsuit. For the first time in 2 weeks, something unclenched behind my sternum, a pressure I hadn't fully registered because it had been constant for so long. But the house remained. 4 people still lived there, convinced they had won. The process server, I said. Day 17. We're still proceeding. Rita nodded. We're still proceeding. The process server's name was Carl. I never learned his last name. Mid-40s, built like a former college football player who hadn't entirely let the physique go. He carried the quiet, unflappable calm of someone who delivers unwelcome news as a profession. Day 15, 2 p.m., a crisp Wednesday afternoon. Carl walked up the front path of 147 Maplewood Drive, stepped over Tiffany's new welcome mat, and knocked 3 times. Gerald opened the door. Carl handed him the notice to quit, a formal 30-day eviction notice issued by the property owner, me, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 186, Section 12. It named all 4 occupants, Gerald Brennan, Donna Brennan, Marcus Brennan, and Tiffany Brennan. In clear legal language, it stated they had 30 days to vacate or face formal eviction proceedings in Springfield Housing Court. According to Carl's affidavit, which reached me that evening, Gerald read the first page, looked up, read it again, and said nothing. The notation read, "Recipient appeared visibly shaken. Document served successfully at 2:07 p.m." Gerald called me 11 minutes later. For the first time in my life, his voice wasn't commanding. It cracked. You're evicting us, your own parents. You forged my name on a $95,000 loan, Dad. The bank confirmed it. You have 30 days. I did it for the family. I did it for Marcus's credit card debt. I have the transaction records. Every dollar, every deposit, every cash withdrawal Mom made. You ungrateful. He didn't finish. He hung up. Marcus called 4 minutes later, already shouting, "You're insane. Tiffany's due in 6 weeks. Where is supposed to go?" That's not my problem to solve anymore, Marcus. 2 days remained until Gerald's open house. 45 invitations out, catering ordered, rental chairs set up in the backyard. He refused to cancel. He told Donna, "We'll show them we're still a family. Sabrina's the one who left." He still believed he owned the story. Sunday, 1 p.m. The maple tree in the front yard of 147 Maplewood Drive had turned full orange. Beneath it, Gerald had arranged folding tables, a catered spread from the local deli, pink and white helium balloons, and 45 chairs lined up in neat rows, like pews waiting for a sermon. The event was billed as Welcome Baby Brennan, a celebration of Marcus and Tiffany's coming child, the first grandchild in the Brennan line. Gerald had sent text reminders the day before. Donna baked a lemon cake. Tiffany wore a new lavender maternity dress and sat in a cushioned chair at the head table, like the guest of honor. Guests arrived over the first hour. Uncle Ray in khaki shorts and a polo, lingering near the grill. Aunt Patrice clutching a wrapped gift, lips pressed thin. Grandmother Helen, 82, settled in a padded lawn chair someone had brought just for her. Neighbors from Maplewood Drive, including Louise Vacate, who stood at the yard's edge with lemonade and a face that said she was there to observe, not to cheer. Riverside Motors co-workers, Tiffany's dental office friends, cousins, second cousins, a handful of faces I couldn't name. Gerald stood in the center, dress shirt tucked, sleeves rolled once. He raised a plastic cup of lemonade and gave a toast. The Brennan family is growing. This house, this home, has always been about family. 45 people clapped. Tiffany beamed. Marcus draped an arm around Donna. Donna smiled from behind the cake table, arranging plates. No one mentioned me. Gerald had told anyone who asked that I couldn't make it, that I was going through some things. Louise Beckett took a slow sip of lemonade and stayed silent. It was 1:15. I was 8 minutes away, parked in my car with a manila folder on the passenger seat and my heartbeat loud in my throat. I pulled up 2 houses down, checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, gray blazer, black slacks, white blouse, the same outfit I wore for project review meetings, hair in a low knot, minimal makeup. I looked like someone arriving to deliver a report, because that...
A voice cut through from behind us, clear and unyielding. "Gerald, take your hand off that girl." Louise Beckett stood 6 feet away, lemonade still in hand, her expressions solid as set concrete. Gerald released me. Heads turned, first a few, then more. Tiffany appeared in the doorway, baby shower gift bag dangling from her fingers. She saw me and the color drained from her face. "Why is she here?" 45 people were watching now. I stood on the porch, 3 steps above the yard, fully visible to every guest. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Silence travels farther than shouting when the audience is already attentive. Most of you were told I moved out because I wanted my own space. That isn't what happened. I opened the manila folder. This house is in my name, only my name. I bought it 4 years ago with an FHA loan. I've made every mortgage payment, $2,340 a month, 48 months, $112,320 total. My parents contributed nothing. Gerald stepped forward. "Sabrina, stop this." 3 weeks ago, I discovered that my father, with my mother as witness, forged my signature on a $95,000 mortgage application at Greenfield Credit Union. I held up the signature comparison. "This is my real signature." I pointed left. "This is the one on the mortgage." I pointed right. They don't match. The bank confirmed it in writing. I raised the letter from Greenfield. The loan is suspended. They're investigating. I lifted the transaction summary. $38,000 went to Marcus's credit card debt, $22,000 to a car dealership for his down payment, $15,000 withdrawn in cash by my mother, $20,000 remains in my father's savings account right now. My parents stole $95,000 from me by forging my name. The yard fell silent, not the courteous pause between toasts, but the airless hush of 45 people realizing they stood inside someone else's deception. Aunt Patrice set her cup on the table. Uncle Ray looked at Gerald with an expression I'd never seen on him before. Then Louise Beckett spoke, loud enough to reach every corner. I've lived next door for 11 years. I watched this girl mow that lawn, paint those walls, shovel that driveway, alone, every single time, and they had the nerve to put her in the basement. I placed the folder on the porch railing. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because 45 people deserve the truth before they congratulate this family on growing. Tiffany rose slowly from the cushioned chair, one hand on the armrest, the other on her belly. Her face matched the white of the paper plates on the catering table. She stared at Marcus as though he were a stranger wearing her husband's clothes. "Tell me this isn't real." Marcus didn't move, his gaze fixed on a patch of grass between his shoes and the lawn's edge. His mouth opened, closed. "Marcus!" Her voice rose an octave. "Tell me the $38,000 wasn't true. Tell me you didn't use stolen money to pay off your debt." It's complicated, Tiff. It's not true. Tell me it's not true." Her words shattered across the yard like glass on tile. A child near the fence stopped running. Uncle Ray set his plate down. Grandmother Helen, in her padded lawn chair, gripped both armrests and fixed her son with the stillness that comes before judgment. Gerald tried to reclaim the stage, arms outstretched, the patriarch reassembling his scene. "Everyone, this is a family matter." Uncle Ray cut him off. "A family matter? You forged your daughter's name, Gerald. That's not a family matter. That's a crime." Aunt Patrice, the same woman who'd told me my grandmother was crying because of me, picked up the wrapped baby gift, slipped it back into her bag, and stepped away from the table without a word. Then Helen spoke. Her voice, thinned by age, carried harder than anything that afternoon. "Gerald, I didn't raise you to be a thief. Mom, sit down and be quiet." Gerald dropped into a folding chair in the middle of his own party, in front of 45 people. He sat and said nothing. Tiffany walked inside. The screen door slammed behind her. One by one, guests gathered their things. No one took leftover cake. No one said congratulations. The open house ended. The house was mine. An hour later, the yard resembled the aftermath of something interrupted mid-sentence. Folding tables still standing, paper plates snagged in the grass, pink and white balloons tethered to the mailbox, swaying in a breeze that no longer carried a celebration. I sat in my car at the curb, engine off, hands on my knees. I'd expected something sharp, triumph, relief, the clean break of justice served. Instead, I felt hollow, as though I'd extracted a tooth that had been rotting for years. Necessary, correct, and nothing about it felt good. Through the front window, I could see Gerald sitting in the living room, just sitting. Donna moved in the kitchen, her shadow shifting behind the curtain, wiping the counter the way she always did when she didn't know what else to do. Upstairs, behind the closed door of the nursery that had once been my bedroom, Tiffany had locked Marcus out. Even from the curb, her voice carried, muffled but unmistakable. "You told me you got a bonus. A bonus! You lied to me for 3 months. When was I going to tell you? After the baby was born? After we moved into a house that isn't even ours?" Uncle Ray pulled up behind my car. He stepped out, approached my window, and paused before speaking. "I owe you an apology. I believed your father. I shouldn't have." "Thank you, Uncle Ray. That means a lot." He nodded once, returned to his car, and drove away. Aunt Patrice left without stopping, but 48 hours later she sent a text, 2 paragraphs, clearly rewritten several times, an apology. I started the engine and pulled away from Maplewood Drive. In the rearview mirror, the balloons still floated above the mailbox, pink and white against a gray sky, commemorating something that no longer existed. Tiffany called that night at 9:30. Her voice wasn't what I expected. Not angry, not tearful, just flat. The tone of someone who has exhausted emotion and now runs on facts alone. I need to know everything, every dollar, every lie. I hesitated. This was the same woman who'd told me to leave my own house, who'd posted my bedroom on Instagram like a conquest, who'd called me selfish for refusing to pay the electric bill on a property she occupied for free. But she was also 7 months pregnant and had just learned her husband had built their life on stolen money. Whatever she had been before, right now she deserved the truth. I sent her the transaction records, all of them. 15 minutes of silence, then her name lit up my screen again. The $22,000 for the car, he told me that was a dealer discount. He said he earned it. I'm sorry, Tiffany, I really am. Don't be sorry, I'm the one who told you to leave your own house. A pause.
He was just a 33-year-old man sleeping on the sofa in his sister's house, except it wasn't his sister's house anymore. It was only his sister's. Gerald, for the first time in Marcus's memory, turned on him. If you hadn't been in so much debt, none of this would have happened. Golden child, meet the cold side of the altar. Gerald himself unraveled more slowly, more quietly. He canceled his weekly poker game, the first time in 12 years. He told his buddies it was family stuff, but 2 of the men in that group had attended the open house. They already knew. The phone calls Gerald once received, cousins checking in, friends suggesting lunch, dwindled to almost nothing. Uncle Ray didn't call at all. Helen, his own mother, let 3 days pass without returning my messages. Donna called me once a day, every day. Same script, same measured cadence. Please come home, we can fix this. And every day I gave the same reply. There's nothing to fix, Mom. There's only what happens next. On Friday, a letter arrived at 147 Maplewood Drive from Greenfield Credit Union. A formal request for Gerald and Donna to appear in person at the branch to discuss the matter. The bank now had its own problems, and Gerald was rapidly running out of people willing to accept his version of events. The internet is not kind to secrets. It is even less kind when those secrets involved baby showers and stolen mortgages. Tiffany deleted the Instagram post, "Family always makes room for the next generation," the one with 212 likes and the pink heart emoji. She deleted it, but screenshots endure forever. Within a day, a friend of hers from the dental office posted a cryptic Facebook status. Imagine finding out the house you thought was a gift was actually stolen property. Red flag emoji. 89 comments, 340 reactions. Tiffany wasn't named. She didn't need to be. The people who knew, knew. On Maplewood Drive, the Whisper Network moved at cul-de-sac speed. Louise Beckett didn't gossip. It wasn't her way. But when neighbors asked, she offered one sentence. I watched that girl build this home with her own 2 hands. You should ask Gerald what he built. It was the kind of remark that required no follow-up. People filled in the blanks themselves. At Riverside Motors, 2 of Marcus's co-workers had been at the open house. They'd seen the documents, heard Tiffany's voice break, watched Gerald told to sit down by his own mother. On Monday morning, one of them asked, Hey, wasn't that your sister's house? Marcus didn't answer. He requested 3 days of personal leave. His manager approved it without questions. Some silences speak louder than explanations. Aunt Patrice sent a text on the second Tuesday, longer than I expected, more honest than I felt she owed me after telling me my grandmother was crying because of me. Sabrina, I am sorry. I should have listened to you before I judged you. I always wondered how Marcus afforded that new car. Now I know. I hope you can forgive me in time. I didn't reply immediately, but I saved the message. Some apologies need time to settle before you can measure their weight. Day 30. The eviction notice expired on a Tuesday morning. No extensions, no negotiations, no last-minute calls that altered anything. Rita sent a final formal letter to the house. If all occupants had not vacated by end of day, we would file for court-ordered eviction through Springfield Housing Court. The letter was addressed to Gerald. It arrived by certified mail. He signed for it. That signature, at least, was his own. Gerald called me that afternoon. His voice had changed. Not angry, not commanding, not even the cracked version from weeks earlier. It was flat, spent. The voice of a man who has exhausted everyone to blame and hasn't yet learned to face the mirror. "Where are we supposed to go, Sabrina?" "I've already looked into this for you. There are 2 apartments available on Elm Street, $1,200 and $1,400 a month. Your disability check covers rent. Mom can apply for part-time work. That's your starting point." Silence. "I'm not throwing you out with nothing, Dad. I'm telling you that you can't live in a house you stole from me. There's a difference." "I didn't steal." "Yes, you did." More silence. Then one word. "Okay." The smallest, heaviest word he had ever spoken to me. Donna began packing the next morning. Gerald sat in his recliner and watched. Marcus, who had moved in with a friend 2 weeks earlier, came by to collect the last of his things. He carried 2 boxes to his car without meeting anyone's eyes. Day 33. Gerald and Donna moved into the $1,200 apartment on Elm Street, 1 bedroom, street level, a fraction of the space they had occupied rent-free in my house. Gerald said nothing as he turned the key in the lock for the final time. Donna lingered at the front door, glanced back at the house, then at me standing by my car. She gave a small, slow nod and walked to the passenger side of Gerald's truck. I had handed my father 2 apartment listings because I couldn't hand him nothing. Even after everything, I refused to become what he had been to me. The legal aftermath unfolded more quietly than the personal one, but no less decisively. Greenfield Credit Union completed its internal investigation 6 weeks after the open house. Result: the $95,000 loan was voided in full. The lien on 147 Maplewood Drive was removed from all property records. The fraudulent entry on my credit file was expunged through formal disputes with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. My score, which had never actually fallen thanks to Rita's swift action, rose from 761 to 774 once the removal posted. Derek Gaines, the loan officer who had processed the application on Gerald's word and a few beers, was terminated. The bank sent me a formal apology letter and offered $5,000 in goodwill compensation. I declined the money. Instead, I requested a written commitment that Greenfield would implement mandatory in-person identity verification for all future mortgage applications. They agreed. Rita had the commitment notarized. The harder question followed: criminal charges. Rita explained it plainly. What Gerald and Donna had done, forging a signature on a financial instrument, constituted forgery under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 267, Section 1. What Marcus had done, knowingly receiving the proceeds, was fraud. I had standing to file a criminal complaint. I chose not to. Not because they didn't deserve it, but because I refused to spend 2 years in courtrooms reliving the worst thing my family had ever done to me. I had already won. I had my house, my credit, my name restored. I didn't need a conviction to confirm I was right. Rita sent Gerald a final letter. "Miss Brennan has chosen not to pursue criminal charges at this time. This decision is a courtesy, not an entitlement. Any future unauthorized use of Miss Brennan's identity or property..."
Donna replied 2 days later. "I understand. I'm sorry, Sabrina. I truly am." Marcus responded 2 weeks after that. 4 words. "I get it." Whether that was growth or simply fatigue, I couldn't tell, and I decided it didn't matter. I had spent 4 years questioning whether I was being too harsh,
too distant, too much. But drafting that email, stating clear terms in plain language, was the first time I felt I was being exactly enough. Have you ever had to draw a firm line with someone you love? Not in anger, but with a document. How did it feel? Share in the comments. You might discover you're not the only one holding that pen. 3 months after the open house, Tiffany gave birth to a girl, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Lily Mae Brennan, delivered at a hospital in Worcester near her mother's house, in a room Marcus was not permitted to enter. The next morning, Tiffany sent me a photo. A tiny face swaddled in white, eyes closed, one small fist pressed against her cheek. Below it, a message longer than any she'd ever sent me. Sabrina, I said terrible things to you in a house that was never mine to claim. I was wrong. I was told things that weren't true, and I chose to believe them because it was easier. That's on me. You don't owe me anything, but if you ever want to meet Lily, she has your eyes. The door is open. No pressure, no timeline. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I cried, for the first time since leaving Maplewood Drive. Not from grief or rage, but from the deep, specific relief of something long clenched finally loosening in my chest. I replied, "Thank you, Tiffany. That means more than you know. I'd like to meet Lily when the time is right." Tiffany had already filed for separation in Worcester County Probate Court. She wasn't returning to Marcus. In a later conversation I hadn't anticipated, she told me the $7,000 he still owed her was the smallest of his debts. Marcus called once after Lily's birth. He asked if he could bring the baby to see me sometime. I said yes, but at a coffee shop in town, not my house. Public, neutral ground. A boundary I didn't need to justify, and he didn't try to challenge. Forgiveness isn't a switch, it's a faucet, and I control the flow. 6 months after the open house, I moved back into 147 Maplewood Drive, my house, my name on the deed, my hand on the doorknob, my key in the lock. I repainted every room, not to erase the past, but because I had earned the right to choose the colors. Soft gray in the bedroom, warm white in the kitchen. The basement received a proper floor, vapor barrier, and recessed lighting. I never wanted to see bare concrete again. Louise Beckett came over that first afternoon with a potted lavender plant. She set it on the porch railing, squeezed my hand, and said, "Welcome home, honey, for real this time." At work, the promotion I'd been tracking came through. Senior project engineer, $104,000 a year. I signed the offer letter at the same desk where I'd first seen the credit monitoring alert that changed everything. I started writing, not reports, but words. A blog first. Personal essays on family systems, on the hidden cost of being the reliable one, on what happens when you stop subsidizing people who mistake your labor for love. The inaugural post, The Basement Test, How I Knew It Was Time to Leave, was shared 4,200 times in its first month. A small Boston publisher, Harborline Press, reached out. They wanted a book. I signed the contract for The Deed Is My Name, Reclaiming Your Life from Family That Takes Too Much. Publication in 8 months. Gerald and Donna remain on Elm Street. He calls once a month. The conversations are brief, awkward, and free of demands. That alone is progress. Marcus works at a dealership in Chicopee and sees Lily every 2 weeks. He's quieter now. Whether that's growth or exhaustion, I've stopped needing to decide. I met Lily one Tuesday afternoon at a coffee shop. She was 3 months old, asleep in her carrier. Hanger Marcus handed her to me. I held her, warm, impossibly small, and thought, I didn't lose a family. I lost a version of family that was never real, and I built something truer in its place. The house is quiet now, but it's a different quiet. Not the hush of being overlooked, but the calm of being in command. That's my story. I shared it not because I'm angry. I'm not anymore, but because I know someone is lying in their own basement right now, paying for a house they're not allowed to live in, wondering if they're the problem. You're not the problem. You never were. The moment you stop funding the lie is the moment your life truly begins. If this story reached you, hit like, subscribe if you want more, and if you know someone who needs to hear this tonight, share it. Sometimes the thing that saves us is knowing someone else walked out first. There's one part of this story I haven't told yet. The conversation between Gerald and his mother Helen, the one that happened a week after the open house, the one Donna said changed something in him permanently. That story is in the video linked in the description. I'll see you there.